Here he comes.
Since the day you were born, always deep diving in.
Who's in there?
Pools of adrenaline.
There we go.
You better take control, 'cause this life will take its toll. Wait for it. Driving midnight light, 'cause you're trying to reach your soul. But I guess you don't know.
Well, welcome to the Model S premiere.
All right.
I hope you like what you see.
Yeah.
You're looking at what would be the world's first mass-manufactured electric car. And you know, this is I think a car that's really going to show what's possible with electric vehicles. You know, when we first unveiled the Roadster, people said, "Oh, you know, you can't really, you'll never bring that car to market. If you do, nobody's going to buy it." And that turned out not to be true. So people should have complete confidence that you know, this car is going to come to market. I think we can do it in about 2 years. And I'll tell you a little bit about the car, and then I'm going to hand it over to JB to talk a little bit more about the technology, and to Franz to talk about the design. So we wanted a car that was beautiful and functional. And you know, you can that's a difficult thing to do, because you can make something look very good if you cheat a little bit on the proportions and you don't give it any trunk space, and you make it very low and all that sort of thing. But if you want to have something which is functional and beautiful, very difficult. But I think we've achieved that here. This is a car that actually has more trunk space than any other sedan on the market, including much bigger sedans. It has more cargo space than most SUVs, because the front is a trunk and the rear is a trunk. We've got the battery pack between the two axles. The motor is behind the rear axle. So that allows us to have the rear seats fold forward, and the trunk is actually a 4-bar linkage hatchback. So you can actually, in this car you can fit a surfboard, a 50-inch TV, and a mountain bike at the same time. You'll also be able to fit 7 people in this car, although this is initial prototype, so we don't have the 2 rear-facing child seats. But this will be a true 7-seater with, by that I mean 5 adults and actually 2 kid seats. I have 5 kids, so that's important. This will be 5-star crash rated. It'll have, you know, all the safety features that you've come to expect, and with the battery pack and the floor pan, this thing's going to corner like it's on rails. It can have the lowest center of gravity of almost any car on the road. You'll need a spatula to turn this thing over. So, in terms of the range is obviously an important consideration for a car that is a pure electric vehicle. So, how do we address the range? Well, we're going to have the Model S is going to have up to a 300-mile battery pack. It'll have a 45-minute charge time, and we're designing the battery pack such that it can be switched out faster than you can fill a gas tank. No exaggeration. So, I think that should address the range issue. And performance-wise, we're talking just for the basic vehicle, 0 to 60 of under 6 seconds. We want to have a performance version. It won't be the first year of production, but around the second year of production, we'll have a performance version, 0 to 60 well under 5 seconds. Top speed, electronically limited to 130 miles an hour, so you should be okay on that front. So, and then the starting price of this car, we feel very comfortable that we can achieve a $49,900 starting price, which is extremely important for something that we want to make as mass market as possible. And now this $49,900 after taking into account the federal tax rebate of $7,500. But that doesn't tell the whole story. Call it $49,000, you actually need to take into account the much lower cost of electricity versus gasoline. And if you assume gas is goes to around $4 a gallon, which it'll easily do, it'll go way past that point. And current California electricity rates, that's like taking $10,000 to $15,000 off the price of the car. So this is effectively like a $35,000 car in effective cost of ownership. And so we're basically about the cost of a Ford Taurus. So, we'd rather have this or a Ford Taurus. Difficult question. So, and some people will say, well, the average consumer isn't going to do a net present value calculation. That's okay, they don't need to. Just compare the lease cost of our car versus the lease cost of a gasoline car, and we will upload leasing for this car, and add back in the cost of electricity and the cost of gasoline. And you have your savings from day one. It's an immediate apples-to-apples comparison. US or Europe or Japan could afford. And we're producing this at about 20,000 units a year when production scales up. And then beyond this will also serve as a learning platform for our third generation, where we should probably be about 4 or 5 years, and that's where we want to be under $30,000 a car. So with that, let me hand it over to JB to talk a bit about the technology.
Advances in the powertrain. Particularly in the battery, we've figured out how to package the battery pack much more efficiently than we did in Roadster. It's about a 50% improvement in the amount of energy in a given volume that we can fit into this car. And that's one of the things that lets us have such terrific interior space and be able to fit the battery pack in this very thin kind of pancake underneath the entire bottom of the car. We've also increased the motor power very significantly. This has about 2 times the continuous power rating on the electric motor. That way you can fit 5 people in the car and luggage and still head up the grapevine in the summer and have no problem with overheating or anything like that. The power electronics is also much more compact. As Elon mentioned, we've come up with several different charging options. The 45-minute recharge, I think, is just going to be a phenomenal increase in utility. That really lets you drive from Los Angeles to San Francisco with something like a 30-minute stop in between to just top off a little bit of difference that you would need. And that means you can do that trip in about 30 minutes more than it would take you otherwise. So a 6-hour drive might take you 6.5 hours, which is really a pretty doable drive. It's not as if you are taking multiple days and getting a hotel room. So that's a pretty huge improvement in the utility of EVs. The 300-mile range is also something that is a pretty phenomenal improvement, and that'll be coming with basically the same battery pack that gives us 220 miles range, but with higher energy density cells. And as years go by, the cells continue to get better and better, and we've watched that improve even over the life of the Roadster. It's about a 20% improvement since we started the Roadster, and we expect another equivalent improvement. We can see it already coming with prototypes that are in the lab today. And that'll continue to bring it to 300 miles and possibly higher over the life of the entire Model S program. And well, Franz, do you want to say a little bit more about the design process?
Thanks, guys. I'm Franz. 7 months ago, I came into this building and none of this stuff was here. And since then, we've integrated design into Tesla. And we started in our little tent back there. And 7 months later, we've created these vehicles, created Model S. So hats off to the team that we've kind of organized here at SpaceX as Tesla Design. They're scattered around you. Just congratulate them. I think they did a great job. Also 7 months ago when I met Elon, he said we needed to make a beautiful car that held 7 people and had best-in-class everything. And I thought, well, we're not making a sedan, are we? Because that sounds impossible. But with the architecture of an electric vehicle, what I learned very quickly is that we could make a sedan, and we could make a best-in-class international sedan with having a battery pack in the bottom of the car and a motor. This car is rear-wheel drive. but there's still room for 3 across in the back seat. With the motor in the rear and the batteries under the floor, we can have a flat floor across the rear. And so elements like that make this car really come to life and really make it more than what it appears to be. If you want to get an impression of the size of this vehicle, it's somewhere between a 5 Series and a 7 Series BMW in size. So it's appropriately sized for the marketplace. And I think it's much more aspirational than the $49,900 base price would lend you to believe, especially when you see it driving on the road. Some of the other things that we factored into this car were a very lithe and lean body. This car needs to be uncompromised in all its elements. From a consumer perspective, you need to look at this car and say, well, they didn't compromise on range because they made a brick. So that was a big factor in the style. When we move into the interior, we have some really innovative things happening in the interior, which I think you can see, especially the people in the back of the car. We have, I think, the world's first 17-inch haptic touchscreen monitor in the center of the vehicle. And that actually controls your heater and air conditioning, your radio, and your navigation system all at the same time. And with haptic, you get a sensory feedback right off of the screen. So it's cutting edge, next generation. You're seeing this stuff appear in your cell phones. We thought it's very important that it should appear in your vehicle. And next to that, we have also a 10.5-inch liquid crystal display for the information in front of the IP. So one of the best attributes about that is that we can consistently upgrade the car. This car is 3G wireless connected all the time. You can pull down Google Maps, your email, anything you can get off the internet, Yelp or Pandora Radio, streaming media, and you can also skin that. We're offering the opportunity to reskin the interior components, something that no other brand is offering. So we've made this experience very tangible. You get in the car, push your foot on the brake, put on your seatbelt, push drive, button for drive, and drive away, and it's that simple. So as advanced as the technology is underneath the skin, this is a very palatable car for today and for the next 5 to 7 years, which will be the lifespan. And it's been an awesome experience to bring something like this important of a vehicle to life, and I just hope that you guys enjoy it, and it's a pleasure to present this to you. So with that, I think Elon's going to drive somebody off, maybe take it out.
With one of our investors, and then it's going to come back, and everyone's going to we'll try to get as many people as possible to get a test ride in the car. The test rides will go out onto Jack Northrop Boulevard, so you'll get a chance to see that this isn't some, show car that doesn't actually do what it says. It will go fast and with a lot of people in it. Quietly, yeah. So we'll try to get as many people in the car as possible. We are going to prioritize it by those that have actually bought a Model S. I think that's a reasonable expectation to get a ride in the car. And so as soon as we're through with that list, then we'll go to people that are thinking about buying it. Over in that direction is where you could line up. Oh, yes, of course, sorry. The actual reason Steve's going to get in this car first is he actually bought the first car. Very good point.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the evening.